hopefully when retirement comes, if actors ever retire, I doubt we do, then I could have a clatter of rescues, which would include, may I say, greyhounds, who are some of the most beautiful hounds in the world and the most sinned against. And in Ireland, greyhounds and their progeny and lurchers, all of the mixes, they are the most dumped dogs and the most cruelly treated. And that's, from the greyhound industry downwards. So, it's something very close to my heart, obviously. Just as I've gotten older, I've started to question things like, where does my food come from, for instance? Why is there so much cruelty in Ireland against animals? Stuff like that. And out of that, and out of being patron of Little Hill Animal Rescue, who do lots of hen rescues, as you know, and who have also rehomed many discarded greyhounds over the years, I just began to see into the dark corners of some of the industries that we are perpetuating here in Ireland. So it's been ongoing. When it comes to me and greyhound racing, you will see on various bits of social media that the pro racers always take out a photo of me in the 90s at a race meeting in Shelburne Park. And indeed, I was there. But, since then, I always applaud it when they find the photo, because I don't know where it is, but it'll turn up every so often and people will say, "See, you used to do this." Yes, I did. But then I got wise and I evolved and realised that it's an incredibly cruel sport, and also it's not sustainable one way or the other. So I stopped. So I'm always thankful when they bring this up, and I can say, yes, me and over 1 million other Irish people since then have decided to vote with their feet and their heads and not
stop going to the dogs.
To be part of an industry that is so systemically cruel anyway means that you are actually propping it up. And I tell you this, if we were to take away even the emotional value of everybody who watched the documentary last week, I know is just gobsmacked at the amount of
Did you watch it through?
Yes, well, I knew a lot of what was being shown in it. There were things that weren't shown, believe it or not. There are even worse things happening constantly. The blooding of the coursing dogs, for instance, and so on. But if we were to remove all of that, all of the way that the Irish people now feel about, the horror that is greyhound racing, let's look at it even from a business point of view. It doesn't stack up. This is a dying industry, and I hope that people in Ireland were very well apprised of the fact that we are propping it up to the tune of 16.8 million a year at the moment, which is over 320,000 euro every week, to an industry that really, if it were a commercial enterprise, would have been shut down long ago. Because it had a turnover of 22 million last year, and of that, 16.8 million was paid for by the taxpayer. The Irish Greyhound Board, in all of its instances and lives before this, has had 100 years to get this industry proper, and it hasn't happened. And it seems to me suspicious that suddenly we're getting a whole plethora of promises about, what's going to happen, simply on the back of a rather brilliant documentary on RTE last week. They've had 100 years. It hasn't happened, and I don't buy that it will happen properly, that they'll be regulated, because they are also a self-regulating body. I mean, I see now that the IGB are going to talk to the GBGB, which is the Greyhound Board of Great Britain, about exports. Now, all that the IGB have done, and indeed the government, if you ask them, about exports now, and we saw on the programme where dogs are sent to be bred to within an inch of their lives in Pakistan, China. They'll often end up in the meat trade, brutal deaths, one way or the other. The response from the Irish end of things is, once they leave the shores of this country, they are no longer our problem. And that's leading to the overbreeding, and that's leading to the fact that, over 6,000, and I would say it's more like 10,000 are killed every year that we know of, the registered ones, for being too slow. We're overbreeding massively. So
Pauline,
I think we need to ban the exports altogether.
Okay,
because the IGB are self-regulating, and so are the CBGB.
Do you want greyhound racing banned completely, or do you just want the government support to stop for it?
I think that a start would be to remove the government support. I think after that, it's not actually possible for it to continue because it doesn't make sense commercially. And, personally, and I'm only speaking now as a really concerned citizen, an Irish citizen, I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I think that the only way at this stage now is a total ban on greyhound racing. Phased out so that at least, but phased out quickly, at least then, there's a chance for all of the rescues, and it will be the rescues who take this up, for them to rehome. On the programme, they showed the illegal coursing that's happening on Whiddy Island every weekend. Now, coursing anyway, I think should be banned anyhow. The hare is an iconic and indeed protected species in Ireland, but because of a loophole, and because I'm very ashamed to say that Josepha Madigan's department, she issues the licence to course and to hunt these iconic and protected hares. She's Minister for Culture, Heritage and Gaeltacht, and she is at the moment making her mind up about whether to reissue that licence this year, and I hope that she doesn't. I hope that she acts compassionately. Like an awful lot of other companies, private companies are doing at the moment. You look at FBD, who sponsored the Kilkenny track. People power now is kicking in, and the people want this to stop, and they want the waste of their money stopped as well. But they're also saying to the companies that privately sponsor the races, please don't do it anymore.
And they are withdrawing. All right, Pauline, look, it's going to go on for a while, but ban it altogether is your view.
It's my call. As a lone Irish citizen, yes, who's very concerned, I say ban it. And I know that I would have the backing of various rescue groups and concerned groups throughout the country when I say that, but it's any views tonight were my own. So yes, thanks for letting me talk.
I think people shared them too. Listeners been on to say the worst part of that programme, and I actually deliberately didn't watch it, was a dog being put into boiling water. My blood runs cold when I think of the pain.
It did not show that, but it did give you the sounds of the death throes of that poor dog.
Is that right?
And this is a risk that is taken once that there are exports. They leave these shores, they go beyond to places with even worse animal rights.
And it's something that we can stop, is what you're saying.
We can stop that, and that would be a start. And also, let's declassify the greyhounds as livestock. And, if they were even, classified then as pets, say, then the ISPCA would have more powers to go into more premises and check, because at the moment it's the Department of Agriculture who are overrun, I should imagine, with complaints. So, there are so many things that we can do, so many small things on the road to hopefully a total ban.